everybody, it's Angela and I'm back with another design team project for SaCrafters. And this is her shadow box. It's a layered shadow box. And when I say layered, the depth depends on how many layers of this grid pattern you put on the side. And it comes with three grids, and I'm going to apply all of them here because I want it the full depth. But you could make it more shallow and save some of those grid patterns for, another project or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and adhere all of them. So there's the first one. I'm gluing it down to the backer board, and I'm just using some Aleene's wood glue. You could use tacky glue or quick dry or whatever works good with wood. And I'm just kind of squeezing it on and then using my finger to kind of smooth it out so it gets good coverage. And I don't know if this is the best way to do it, but I've never done one of these before, so it was the way that I did it, and it seemed to work really well. And then I just layered it up, and so that was the second layer, and now I'm going to glue on the third. And so it's not super deep, but it's deep enough to have some good shadow lines and really delineate the spaces, and yet not be too deep that stuff gets kind of lost in there. So I'm going to use this for photos, not for three-dimensional objects. Maybe if you wanted to put a lot of like doll fragments or clocks, stopwatches or something, you might want a deeper one. But this one I'm going to use for a photo display. And so there you can see I've just made sure everything lined up. I'm getting rid of some of the excess glue, kind of squeezing it all really tight. And then I'm going to just let it dry, put a piece of wax paper, and then set a few heavy objects on there just to make sure that I get good contact on all that. So I'm just going to leave that. And now it's all dry. And I want mine to be white because I'm going to hang this in my craft room. And I have all those like recollections cubes, and I have a white IKEA desk and a really old kind of white computer desk from back when you had the big deep monitors and stuff, if you remember that. So pretty much everything is white, and so I wanted this to be white as well to match in with everything, and I wanted it to be kind of crisp, and because my scrap room is pretty crisp and clean and no nonsense kind of, not that it's clean, but in its design style, if it has one, it would tend to be more fresh, clean colors, and it's not so shabby chic. Although I do love that style, that wasn't what I was going for here. So I tried to, keep it pretty simplistic. So I'm using just some white acrylic paint. I'm just going to use that acrylic paint as kind of like a primer coat, and I'm actually going to go back after this with a coat of a satin spray paint because all those recollections cubes and stuff like that have kind of a white satin finish, and I kind of wanted to match that. So I decided to use this, it's Krylon Color Master Satin, and put the last coat on with that. And I also did all my SaCrafters elements with that white paint primer and then the spray paint afterwards. So it gives a really nice finish to everything, and it'll match in to my craft room. And so now I have to decide what kind of pattern paper I want to use for each of those interior squares, because I'm going to back those with paper. So I'm looking through it. First I thought about that Fifth and Frolic, but the designs are pretty big because it's 12 by 12 paper. So I decided to go through some of my 6 by 6 paper pads and just see what I liked, what kind of colors caught my eye, and what patterns and stuff. And I know I want it to be somewhat clean, so I go with some of my Mind's Eye, the Sweetest Thing collection. And so I'm just kind of measuring out my little squares and then putting some pattern paper inside. And I'm going to use a variety of different colors. And I tried using just dry adhesive, and I thought maybe that would fall off later, you know, because it's going to be hanging on a wall. So I decided to just paint some of that wood glue into the background and then adhere my paper on using that. And so you can see two of those squares already have kind of white colors. And then this square is going to have a really bold floral that kind of picks up all the colors that I'm going to be using in this. So I really like that. It has mostly kind of the aqua, yellow, and then kind of a peachy color. And so I'm going and painting some more glue in the background and putting in my squares. And I just love the fact that you can turn this either way. I turned it so all those squares on the left hand side would be more portrait oriented, but you could turn it 90 degrees and then those would be, or I mean, I did it so they're all going to be more landscape oriented, but you could turn it 90 degrees and have them all portrait oriented. So it just depends on what photos you have the most of as to how you want to turn it. And so I'm just going ahead and finishing up on my gluing. And like I said, I painted a bunch of SaCrafters wood elements with this same white spray paint, and also 3 little frames I had got at the Michael's dollar bin, which are still in the dollar bins right now if you're interested in those, and you'll see those come up here shortly. And so there are all my squares filled, and I'm really liking how it looks, and you can see a little bit of that kind of satiny gloss finish when I turned it there. And so now I'm adhering some of the SaCrafters elements, and I have that wood phrase tag, some of her swirls, this little signpost that says Memory Lane, and here's the second swirl. And I'm just adhering those, trying to get rid of some of those glue strings. And I pulled out some Michael's flowers, and then I don't know where the orange flowers came from, but the yellow and the blue are just dollar bin Michael's flowers. And so I'm just putting some of those over and some of them kind of underneath that swirl. And I'm going to try to keep this to just 3 main clusters. A cluster on that bottom right, this one that I'm working on here, and then another cluster up by that word fragment. So I didn't want to go crazy. You know, I would love to fill every square with a bunch of stuff and flowers and whatever. But I was trying to, you know, use restraint and hold back. So I just go with these 3 main clusters because I know it's going to get a lot more busy once I put the photos in there. So I don't need it to be super busy here. So I go ahead and put a couple flowers on each cluster. And then on this one I put this little bird element over the top just to add a little something there. And then that box I am going to leave photo free. I'm just going to let it have that little decoration and stuff on it. All the other ones I will make it so you can put photos or embellishments in it, but this one is going to be kind of a fixed one with her little butterfly, and then I also adhered that little heart on top of the swirl. And then these 3 frames right here are the ones from the Michael's dollar bin, and that oval one is one from SaCrafters. And I'm going to use those, but the whole idea, well, here I'm also hitting it with my glue gun to get rid of all the glue strings and stuff, and that does work pretty well. And then here are all the photos that I'm going to put in here. And like I was starting to say there, the whole theory behind this is I want to be able to change out these photos. And so you can see here I'm using some hook and loop tape or Velcro, and I'm putting it on the back of my photo elements because that's something that's cheap and inexpensive. I can peel it off later if I don't want these in the frame anymore and I want to put something else. And then I can use these pictures in my scrapbooks or layouts or mini albums, you know, if I get tired of them being in here, being displayed, or I can just set them aside and change them out, and maybe some of my favorites I'll put back in here at a later time. So I'm just using hook and loop tape on the back of all these little elements. And yeah, that way I can, you know, as I get favorite baby photos and whatnot, I can change them out all the time and just, you know, put my favorites. In this largest box, I'm putting 2 pieces of Velcro, and that's because any element that gets stuck in that box will be larger anyhow, so I figured 2 pieces in that square would be fine. All the other squares just have 1 piece of Velcro in there, and I figure that's enough to hold it. Even where that bow is on the middle right, that's stuck on with some Velcro. So if I don't have a photo for a certain square, I can always use one of my scrapbook elements, you know, a dimensional sticker or banner or something like that in that square, just with some Velcro on the back. I'm not limited to just using photos. I can use scrapbook elements or just a quote or something like that in here. If I want to take out and not have baby photos at all, I can fill it with inspirational quotes, or, you know, just pictures from the farm or whatever. So it makes it really usable and changeable, and I like that. And I know that the photos that I put in here now won't get wasted either, because if I get tired of them being in the box, yeah, I'll use them on a different scrapbooking project. So there you can see now that the glue's dried, I'm able to just peel that off and stick it back down, and it makes everything more dimensional because they kind of stick up, and they because of the Velcro, it's probably about a 1/4 inch thick once you get 2 pieces, and so it really raises the photos up and gives a nice shadow line. And there you can see I'm just pulling some off and sticking them back on, and so I was really pleased that this worked. I didn't know if it would or not. I originally wanted to use magnets on here, but that didn't work out, and I figured that, you know, Velcro is something we all kind of have around or have access to, and it's really inexpensive, so I went with this idea instead. And so now I'm just going to put a few enamel dots on my photos. I thought about putting some word fragments or other scrapbooking you know, embellishments on there, but I thought I'd just go with a few enamel dot clusters. And then I just wanted to, that one looked a little crooked, so I just wanted to stick it back down in there. So here's a few close-ups of everything. And that is my finished project. And I hope you guys liked it and you'll give it a try. I'll put links to all of my SaCrafters products that I used here in the description box below. And so, yeah, so this is a really versatile project, and I had a lot of fun making it, and I think I'll have a lot of fun using it, changing it around, and enjoying it in my scrapbook room. And it would also make a great gift, so I might make something like this for my mom, and then, you know, just give her photos that she can change it out later. So thanks again, everyone, for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know down below. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.